Tigger's looking nice today.
Yeah, he was knocked over. I don't know.
I took the low road.
I was I was offended. I was like, what happened? Okay. You ready? All right. Well, welcome back to Chief Cap and Chap. This is another episode of our podcast that we've been doing this year, and we're creeping up on maybe 20 episodes or something like that. We've been slacking here lately, just been busy doing everything. So, but first of all, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in to our podcast. If you've seen some of these, you know we're not really that professional at them. We just kind of wing it, as John says. But anyway, send us an email at chief.cap.chap@gmail.com. Let us know what you'd like to hear, who you'd like to have as a guest on here, and we'll evaluate that. We're just not going to put anybody on here, although that's what we've done mostly this year. No, we're not too particular. But this episode, we're just going to kind of shoot the bull a little bit and kind of take it a little low-key and talk about things that are going on and just kind of wing it.
I like to wing it.
John likes to wing it.
Yeah, it's his kind of style.
Yeah. I like notes. I wrote notes, But I'm just, they're kind of bullet points or whatever.
So what's first on your notes?
The first thing I have is that, this is in the news, people probably saw this, but we did that violent crime story with KFVS-12, which I thought was pretty good. It took a lot of work to do that. Kathy Sweeney, who is very good at her job, and when I say that, she's very detailed. You always got to kind of work yourself up to Kathy because she's performing at a very high level, and talk to her about this story. And she's very thorough and very detailed, and sometimes will just flat wear you out because she wants to get in all the nooks and crannies of the story. But it turned out really good. She did a really good job, I thought, and very comprehensive.
Yeah, I thought that was a great interview. I think I even texted you that afternoon.
Yeah,
just about how awesome it was to have that topic brought about. What's interesting to me, so when an interview or a news story like that happens, what's the genesis of that? So how did that particular story, for example, come about? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Is it kind of both?
I'll tell you what happened is Broom told me in March or something like that. I think it was about our violent crime stats for 2024, and it had dropped 33%. That's what John told me, and I went back to him. I'm like, are you sure that's right? Because I was like, I'm not sure that's right. That's a lot. Something's got to be off there. And he says, no, I promise. I looked on the Highway Patrol website, and that's what the uniform crime reporting numbers that we submit every month or whatever. And that's just what it turned out to be. There's a lot of reasons for that. But largely, I think the technology that we're using, but, that kind of went a few months, and I was thinking, we really need to there's so much negativity because that's what we deal with a lot of times. I mean, people and the problems that happen, the crime that happens. When I say negativity, it's it's the nature of our business, So when you have something good like that, I really want the community to kind of know about that too. I mean, I was kind of surprised about it myself, and I thought, I think this is good information for people to know. And I reached out to Kathy and said, hey, I want to do this story, but I want to do it in a way that I knew she would do it in very detail, so you get an honest look about it. I mean, there's always both sides of that, where she didn't want to just talk about violent crime. She wanted to talk about, these, larcenies and things like that. Like, what does that look like? I mean, your violent crime may be down, but what does these other things look like? What does the community think about that? And, of course, I told her, I was like, I don't know what they think about it. And I'm like, they're not going to tell me. Like if I had somebody in the community who's like, hey, what do you think about, they're going to say, oh, I think you're doing a good job. I mean,
Right.
because I'm the chief of police. What are they going to say? Well, you're doing terrible. You know, they might say that. I don't know, but just being honest, that's like, I don't know. I would like you to ask them and see what they say. You know, so that's kind of how it came about, basically. And she started working on that. And it took several weeks. I mean, because she interviewed a lot of people, you know, and a lot of people from the community, some officers. Faison Fobbs was interviewed for that, and you know, which gave a unique perspective because Faison grew up here. Of course, his mom's is a detective here, Paula Nichols, and you know, so he's kind of a guy that works at the department that has you know, seen both sides of that, you know, growing up in town and everything. So it was a good story, I think.
Yeah, I thought what was really cool about it was the community members that gave their thoughts and opinions just based on what they are experiencing, not really prompted by anything, just probably asked a simple question and them sharing the things that they see happening that cast a positive light on all the things going on. So what drove you to check those? I mean, do you check those stats regularly, or was it just you just happened to be looking and boom?
Well, you know, the Shot Spotter was a grant, and so I meet with some folks that kind of monitor that grant and how we're doing. You know, the grant was a rural violent crime reduction grant, federal grant, and so they kind of measure, you know, are we reducing crime? And so that's kind of what really drove me to kind of check our crime stats and see where we were. And I was like Chief, I had to read it about 3 times to make sure that I was reading it right. Yeah. And then I was surprised as well. So that's kind of really what prompted that to get that data and supply to them to show, you know, what our crime stats were prior to ShotSpotter being deployed, and then how it has helped make the community safer. So that's really kind of what prompted that.
Man, that has been a tremendous piece of technology for us. I don't know if we can even explain how well this. First of all, it was a $300,000 grant that John got, which was tremendous in itself. Deserves one of these. You know. Yeah.
All right, that's enough. You're gonna give him a big hit.
That goes on a long time, don't it? I probably should have cut that off a little bit, but no, I mean it's done. I mean, our investigations, it's been really helpful in our investigations, and it gives a lot of data. I mean, the data that you get off of it is great, but
I've never been a data guy or an analytical type. You know, there's a lot of cops, a lot of departments have, you know, data analysis folks that are
crime analysis.
That's what they do. And I've never been that guy. You know, I'm a kind of an old school kind of cop, but I definitely have learned the value of data and what's called data-driven policing, you know, and hotspot policing and the SARA process. And, you know, prior to us being more data-driven, we kind of used the shotgun approach of crime prevention, where you just flood the streets with cops. And with data, you're actually able to target who is out committing the crime.
And everybody may have, like, if I'm patrolling, when I patrolled way back in the day, I had my own idea of where the hot spots were. And, you know, and if you were patrolling, you probably had your own idea of where you thought they were. Now, whether that was the fact or not, I mean, it probably wasn't. I mean, maybe some of the areas, but this actually shows you, no, right now, this last month, this is where the problems are.
So I want to talk about that just a little bit, because I find that really interesting, because when you think about the bad rap that policing gets at times, there is this maybe misunderstanding that people think it is what you just explained, that it's just kind of like well, this is my opinion, I'm just going to go and work what I think is my opinion. Right. But what you've just talked about is that it's kind of changed over the last few years, and data is driving what we do at the department. So John, how is that data gathered?
Well, it's gathered from, you know, we have an incident, a shooting or what have you. We collect the age of the victim, the demographics of the victim. We do the same for the suspect: age, demographics of the suspect, the weapons that were used, the time of day, the specific day that it occurred, the location. We record all of that data, and then we're able to, based on that data, specifically like for victims or suspects. We can use that to work with community groups that are targeting youth that are at risk of being victims of violence or being suspects of violence. And so we can supply that data to them, say, hey, this is a group that you guys need to really try to reach out to and help. As far as the policing side, it can put cops specifically at certain times in certain areas where crime is occurring. It helps you with scheduling, being more efficient, making the officers more efficient, the time that they spend on scene and things like that. So
yeah. So where is that? Is it stored just in the computer system, or where is that data stored?
it's stored on the computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, as the chief, when you look at that data, and I mean, does it make it easier for you leading the department, knowing the data and being able to focus and also give validation for why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, especially the validation for sure, because it gives you that data. I mean, whether I'm explaining that to a city manager or council or concerned citizen, I mean, you have that actual, empirical data to show this geographic location or locations of where these problems are. And so you're no longer just guessing, you know what I mean? It's really helpful. And this, the aspect, if you're an officer and you're given that information, the supervisors know, no, this is the area we need to be in. So, I mean, an analogy might be if the city's a house and, we do firefighting here too, and you want to make sure that no fires come up, I'd think, well, hey, probably the fire is going to be in the kitchen, but the fire might start in the living room, and we don't have an officer in the living room watching the Christmas tree. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then that kind of gets out of control, and a lot of damage can happen. But if we got, these alert systems that tell us, hey, no, the fire is in the living room, and it kind of points that direction. So it's kind of a dumb analogy, but it's really helpful in that aspect.
$300,000 grant for a shot spotter. And it was 3 years for that grant,
Mm-hmm.
so it was $100,000 each year,
Mm-hmm.
and that started in 2024.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to see that, you can pull up that first alert investigation that Kathy Sweeney did. It shows some of the stuff on ShotSpotter in there in pretty good detail.
So what happens at the end of the 3 years with ShotSpotter?
Well, we're always, this department's historically always pursued a lot of grant funding, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And hopefully we'll be able to find some more grants to keep funding it for sure.
Yeah, and when you say, I can remember this. I don't know if you were here when we did this, but way back in the day, Chief Juden was here, and he had somebody that was asking how much, why are we spending so much money on this equipment? And he had us pull out all this grant-funded equipment on the back of Station 1 parking lot. And I had no clue. I was an officer at the time, and I was responsible for moving all this stuff out. And they kept pointing these things out that were bought with grant dollars. And we filled up the whole back parking lot of Station 1 with grant. And you could physically see, he did that on purpose. It was a really smart thing to do because you could physically see all of this stuff that was largely grant funded. And then there was a few items over here that were bought with the city general revenue. I mean, of course, all that's tax dollars, you know what I mean? Grant money is tax dollars that we all pay, but it's better that we get that assistance from the federal government because it pulls from a larger pool for sure, But.
So are there things on the horizon then? Like what's the next shot spotter? What is the technology that you're researching or thinking about now that could possibly help?
Oh, we always have a wish list, basically. But the big thing right now that we've pursued, and I just wrote another grant for, is NIBIN. NIBIN is ballistic. I think we've talked about it before. Basically, it's some forensic evidential value of shell casings. So that's our next thing. And the thing we talked about too is technology, how expensive it is, but it's very valuable today in today's policing. Technology is where it's at. So
if you're going to make progress and see these types of improvements, you have to have this technology on your side. You just do, and it's unfortunate. It's expensive, with the camera systems that we have. license plate readers and things like that. But as you can see, it actually made a difference, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. I think that story was a great story. Really excited anytime that there's positive news about things that are going on, specifically in the city that we live in. And so thanks for your hard work on that, and thanks to Kathy and KFVS for doing that.
I've been you've done public information stuff. I've done it since 2007. So. And everybody always says, well, you did a good job on that, and I always tell them, I'm real quick to say, it's the editing, it is the editing. They do a great job on editing, and, she puts a good product together, and I told her, I said, this is one of the best stories that I think you've done with our city, because she got various aspects of that story.
Yeah, I don't think people, we watch the news piece, and it's, a 5 or 10 minute news piece, but people really don't get a great understanding of the work that's involved in that, because I don't know, she was down here 3 or 4 days, so she spent a lot of time on that, so a lot of work goes into it.
Well, she gave me a little insight on the writing of it, because she has to sit down and write all that data that she collects, the interviews and everything, organize all that, and make, I don't want to say a script, but it's like she's got to put all that together and and write the story, which takes a lot of time, because it's 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe if you over a couple of different episodes or something like that. But that's a lot of writing, and it was crunch time for her. But she had a lot of other stuff going on too, so she has to fit that in there.
So I'm interesting too about the public information officer role, and the I think maybe the dance between the public information officer and the reporter, and how that goes. So you've both done that. Explain that a little bit. What that's like, what it's like to.
Well, it's initially, and I may have talked about this before, but when the chief asked me to do that, I didn't want to do it, because I thought, man, you have this idea about reporters, and I will say it's your idea about reporters as a police officer is not great. Hasn't been traditionally, historically has not been great, but my experience was quite the opposite. It's been very good for the department. I think it's a mutual benefit, because the reporters are trying to give information and things that are going on to the community, and we have to have this transparency. And I can remember years ago when I first started, we really didn't have that. A lot of departments did, and it wasn't just us. It was a relatively new, concept, especially for rural America like we are. And we started doing that, and it took time, but you're slowly building trust and transparency, and you're getting ahead of when something takes place, even if it's something that we did that we shouldn't have done. We're getting that information out, and just saying, hey, this took place. We want to let you know about that. We're handling it, and we're doing the right things, or whatever, So, but it's been a really good program. It really has, and you have to put as much information out as you can without, of course, jeopardizing investigations and things like that. So,
yeah, and I guess that comes with the training for a public information officer,
right? That
they learn what they can and can't say and those types of things.
Yeah.
So Tyler's doing that now.
Yeah, Tyler does a good deal of that, and if it gets more involved in a story like this, then I'll do it, or Broom will participate in it and things like that. But we try to push that stuff down, because you're always trying to, teach and find your replacement. Especially you got to push that stuff down, because there's just a large workload.
Yeah. So ShotSpotter and the news article really highlighted some of the new things, but there's also a new vehicle that is roaming the streets. If you haven't seen it already, you're probably going to see a little bit more of it. Talk a little bit about the new vehicle.
I'll let you talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. I guess it was last year, about January, we started our budget prep, and talking about needs and wants of the department, and vehicles was one of those things. And we talked about introducing a patrol truck to the front line, the black and white fleet that you see out there in the streets, to that. And a lot of folks may say, well, why do you need a pickup truck as a patrol car? And officers out here working run into a lot of times where they need to pick up, maybe somebody found a bicycle or a large amount of property that's or debris that's in the roadway. And we were trying to jam that bicycle or that whatever was found on the side of the road or whatever in the back of a Dodge Charger or a Tahoe, and a lot of times it didn't fit, so we'd have to call like Public Works to help us pick it up or call Fire Division. So that pickup truck now is going to be out on the streets, make our job a little bit more efficient, and really too, I'm thinking with winter coming up, of course, the police department, it doesn't matter. We don't have snow days at the police department, so we have to get around in the snow and the when the roads get bad. So I think it's going to add another, just kind of help us a little bit as far as being able to travel when the roads get bad. Right. And really another part of that is the pickup truck is really limited on what police vehicles are available now. Used to you had the Ford Crown Vic, which was the staple of police cars. Well, they quit making that. And then Dodge really kind of stepped up and filled that void, but I think that we're just really limited on what police vehicles are out there now. So
which I think they phased out Chargers now, haven't they? I mean,
I think last year
going to Durangos.
Yeah, and so just really limited on that. And the pickup truck was just a little bit more expensive than what the Durango was, but for the price. Just a little bit more being expensive, you're getting a much better vehicle, I think.
And the good thing about that is, because we resell vehicles, they hold their value a little bit better. If it's flooding, you got a little more ground clearance that you can get through. Man, we've had pursuits that we've gotten into where you get somebody in a truck and they're going off-road, and then if you're in a Charger, forget it. Yeah, it's not going to happen, which is why they go off road. So it just adds a little bit more coverage ability.
Yeah, another thing kind of came to mind there. We're talking about technology. Of course, our police cars now are just jammed with technology. You have your laptop computers, you have just all kinds of equipment in there. And by the time you install all of that equipment in that Charger, and if you are a bigger, taller guy, man, there is absolutely zero room in that. Like in the passenger side of a Dodge Charger, I can barely get in and out of. Well, that truck is a little bit wider, has a little bit more space. So for the taller guys or the bigger guys, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for them. And those guys spend 10, 12 hours a day in that vehicle. So you can imagine being in a cramped vehicle.
Even the Durangos, some of those Durangos that have the cages. Have you sat in the passenger side of one of those Durangos?
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it is.
You and I are too big for that.
Your knees are in the glove box.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's just no room there.
Yeah. Now before they put all that in, when we first got our first Durango, I sat in it, we drove it, and I'm like, man, this is spacious. This is nice. And then they put the equipment in, and I'm like, this is terrible.
So the truck, is it going to be like just used for special occasions, or is it going to be regular patrol vehicle?
Yeah, no, it'll be out on the streets, every day and used just like the other vehicles you see. It's black and white, got the lights on it, and it's a nice truck. I like it.
Yeah,
it's pretty sharp. It looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. My son saw the video that was posted on the website or the Facebook page yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, that is sweet! I want to drive that thing." So I was like, "You can't." So
yeah. Well, maybe he can here in a few years. We're always hiring.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of patrol, I noticed this the other morning. I was talking to my secretary out here. I said, man, those guys are tearing up the road. They're like stopping cars and everything. Of course, we're starting to get inclement weather, and so I think they're giving a little bit more attention. It was kind of spitting snow, rain or whatever. So just be advised, slow down. Well, what I mean? I'll give you a heads up on that.
A lot of people listening to this podcast will probably be happy to hear that increased enforcement, because I'm going to tell you, part of my job is answering the phone as far as complaints. And I know everybody hates getting pulled over. I get it. You don't want to get pulled over. You don't want to get ticketed. And of course, everybody runs late from time to time. But man, people would not believe the number of complaints as far as speeding, the excessive noise from the vehicles.
Speeding's a big one. I think part of the reason for that is, things always kind of run in a cycle, and we were running short during COVID, and we could really only we didn't have a lot of staff. I mean, at one point we were 17 officers down, and it's hard to be proactive. You're just trying to keep up with the calls for service. And so after, that hung around for a couple of years, we were slowly getting people back. Well, now we've gotten people back, so we're able to do those proactive service. So now we're trying to kind of get back on that, because that complaint, it's everywhere. It's not just on Malone or Maine. But
I get phone calls every day about speeding and traffic complaints, and whether it be getting a soda at the gas station, somebody always comes up to me and says, "Hey, can you have your guys out on my street or this street, because people are speeding up and down it?" And so trying to relay that to the patrol guys, saying, "Hey, we're getting a lot of complaints on traffic, so we need to get out and
they're
run
getting
some
the
traffic."
message. I mean, I'm serious about that. I was listening to radio the other morning, and I was like, "Good Lord, they're doing it," So, which is good, because that increased safety. I mean, it keeps those accidents down.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when you see that car's pulled over on the side of the road, I would say probably, and just this is a rough estimate, probably 1 out of 4 or 5 cars that these guys stop probably get a ticket. Most of the time it's going to be a written warning or a verbal warning or something like that. Just to, hey, monitor your speed, and they tell them, hey, we've got some complaints of speeding up and down this street, and we appreciate you slow down. Sometimes they get a ticket, but really most of the time they're getting warnings.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I was just going to ask what the ratio is, because I think it's very important to say those things, because what happens is, at least from my perspective, as I'm not a patrol officer, and so just I hear radio traffic or see things happening. And you have people that complain about getting pulled over, or, they're speeding or running a stop sign or whatever, having, a loud vehicle or whatever the case may be. And they're getting pulled over, and then they're mad because they got pulled over because they were breaking the law, quite literally.
Yeah.
But then if something tragic happens, like somebody's speeding and they hit a pedestrian, or they run a stop sign and they cause an accident.
Right.
Then the complaint changes probably and goes to, why didn't you guys do anything? Right? It's really
exactly
kind of
right.
a strange thing to watch from the outside.
Yeah, you almost get a complaint either way. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's just kind of the nature of what we do, and it's it's just people. So we've had this happen where people complain about the speeding on their street, and we go enforce speeding as they asked, and sometimes that person is stopped.
Yeah, I've had that exact scenario happen.
Yeah, it's like, well, I didn't mean me. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, well,
I literally had a person tell me one time, hey, you can't pull me over. I'm the one that complained about the speeding. I'm like, well, sir, you were doing 45 and a 35. I'm not going to write you a ticket, but
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the fire station, I noticed that they're building by Burger King on East Malone. They're starting to get some steel in there. So they've started moving some ground around, started clearing some of the old junk that's underground there. So
that's exciting. Is there a time frame that you're aware of?
No, we're working Zollner, who's the construction manager over that project. They've been great, and of course we got Dilly Pollard as the architects, and we continue to meet with them every few weeks, just trying to. They're doing the bid process and all that stuff, because we have them as that construction manager at risk, which takes a lot of load off us, But they're just slowly kind of going through those bids, and they're getting, as you can see, the steel out there for the building. There'll be. I think the whole thing's probably take about a year, is what they said. So this time next year it should be done. We're hopeful. So
it's exciting. I think that area is going to be aesthetically, I think, a lot more pleasing, having a nice, pretty new fire station right there. So that's going to be nice driving down Malone and seeing a brand new fire station right there.
Yeah, and Station 2. This will be the new Station 2, but the old Station 2 we're not even using, other than to store some equipment, because one of the last rains we got a couple months ago flooded it again. So, and then we're like, there's no sense in spending $50,000 getting somebody in there to fix all that when you're going to move out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just trying to cost benefit analysis on that. We was like, there's no, so we've got the Station 3 and Station 1 where we got the crews split up, and we're running it that way. But we need that middle central station for sure.
Do they have a plan for that building once the new one's built? What they will do?
No, I mean, hopefully somebody. I'm sure they'll put it out for sale. You know, and that property. Hopefully, you know, I'm hoping someone will buy it as is, and then they'll deal with the demolition on it. You know, maybe. But I don't know. You know, we'll just see what happens. I'm not sure.
It's a pretty large piece of property. I think it
Yeah.
extends back further than what just the fire station is. So it'd be exciting to see what goes in there, because that's a pretty desirable place.
Yeah, it's probably an acre anyway. I mean, it's
Oh,
pretty.
I bet it's bigger than that. Probably.
Well, yeah, it probably goes deeper than that.
Big. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really excited about that. It's going to be nice. You know, it's nice to see that they're making progress on it. So.
You know, there's a lot of progress, just not just the fire station, but you drive around town now and you see new businesses going in, and you know, just South Main has just exploded in the last 10 to 15 years. As far
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago, it was all cotton fields when you drove down South Main. Now you look, and there's always something new coming in.
You know, and I wonder, like, because they did the census this year in 2020, but it was COVID, and you know, our population really didn't change. But I gotta think it probably did, and just didn't get reported well because it was COVID. You know, but because it seems like there's more activity. I had somebody talking about this, and I noticed it yesterday going home. I left about 5:30 or something like that, and man, the traffic was just. Of course, it's the busy time, sure, but it was crowded. You know, so.
Yeah, the downtown area. Think about that too, which you're partly responsible for, historic downtown Sikeston. But man, just look at downtown, compare it to what it looked like 15 years ago.
Well, speaking of that, and we got that coming up Friday. What is today? Today's the 3rd, so it depends on when this gets aired, you know, and all that stuff. But Friday is the tree lighting ceremony and the Christmas parade. We got that coming up. And downtown there at Legion Park, man, they got all the big Christmas cards up there, and the what do they call that village there?
Santa's Village.
Santa's Village, which is pretty cool. But,
And I'm excited about the new farmers market too. I've seen some of that from the council.
That's going to be nice. That's going to be really nice and needed, you know. So.
Yeah, I think so. I'm that project is like my fire station, right? Like,
right.
That project for the Farmers Market Pavilion is something that the community has needed for many years.
Yeah.
Our farmers market, which I direct on Saturday mornings, has struggled because it doesn't have a home per se.
Yeah.
It has a park, but market vendors have to bring their own tables, their own tents.
Yeah.
If they need electric, they have to have like 100-foot extension cord to run it to. And if it's raining, there's no shelter. I mean, it's
well,
not,
and they run into other events.
yeah,
you
other
know,
events,
yeah.
right? It's not been great. And so a few years back when we, I was in a part of Leadership Sikeston, we had this dream for a farmers market pavilion project, and then a couple of other business owners in town were a part, had that dream also. We ended up in a room together, and that became kind of the genesis for this project. And then the ARPA grant funds became available, and so we made that project one of the grant projects that we applied for, and we won the grant. So that's how this project's going to take place, and I'm looking forward to, and probably more than me, the farmers market vendors are looking forward to having a place that they can call home, that they can have shelter, that they can have electric, that they can see as their place. And
So where will that be, Jason? Exactly.
Yeah, so it's going to be in the north of the depot. It's going to match the depot, basically. There's in the depot parking lot, the north side of the parking lot, the city property. If you look in that parking lot, there's a line. The asphalt makes a line,
Right.
And to the north of that line is city property. And so this pavilion is going to sit on city property in that parking lot. There's going to be some work done on Front Street with the parking, and it's going to be really nice. It's also going to give us public restrooms downtown, which we don't have.
Right. Yeah. That's a big problem.
I mean, that's a big problem. And what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to those public restrooms is it presents a problem in two areas. One, our merchants, some of them do not have public restrooms in their businesses. They're just small.
Yeah.
It presents a liability if people come in and destroy the restrooms. Two, for our organization, so anytime we do an event, we have to rent porta potties, which are not great anyway, and they're expensive. So we spend a large portion of our event budget just on porta potties.
That's a business that I feel like we should have gotten into.
That's a crappy business. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
It is expensive to rent those things.
Yeah, and it's not great. I mean, you got no light in there. If it's dark, you got.
If it's cold or if it's hot, either one. I mean, it's, I know they have some at the rodeo grounds, and man, it's those things are like, man, it's hot.
Yeah. There's snow drifts. You can't get into them. You just got to use the restroom outside and not fall into the snow drift.
So will they move that parking area north a little bit to make room for that, or is there enough room for that farmer's market to leave the parking along Front Street where it is? Or
I think if I remember the drawing right, they are going to have to do a little bit of work. And if you remember, Front Street's pretty wide.
It is wide, yeah.
And it's a 1-lane street that could actually be 2-lane.
Yeah.
And so I think they are going to make Front Street a little smaller there to give some more room for that pavilion. There's plenty of room to do that.
That's why I asked.
So I think that's what they're going to do. So we're looking. I think that project has to be done by August of next year. So pretty excited about
Which
that.
is pretty close to one of my favorite places, Stogie's. You know?
Yeah,
I like those guys, man. They have good cigars. Do you like a cigar?
And they're all right. No, I like a cigar. I like a good cigar. And you know what? Hey, Jason there at Stogie's, some of our downtown merchants kind of go under the radar.
Yeah.
But they truly impact the community. And I think his work there, bringing that business into town, it provides a place of community where people can come.
Yeah.
It's just a unique atmosphere, and I know, like even over the last couple of months, his storefront has been sort of a place of healing for many of your guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
with Franklin's situation, and so
Franklin enjoyed a good cigar.
He did, and he was there often. I just think that Jason's one of those merchants that maybe doesn't get the recognition because it's also a unique business.
Yeah.
That's not for everybody.
Right.
But
he's active in the community.
Yeah, he loves the community.
Yeah.
He's invested in other properties and really, really excited that he's in our community.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. And speaking of Franklin, I believe he's got this memorial set up of Franklin in there, which is pretty cool. We gave him a couple of things to put in a shadow box that he's built in there, but the support he's given us on that specifically has been good. But he's also, like I said, very active in the community too. So
yeah, but the merchants down there are really excited about the farmers market.
Yeah, they are, because it gives more foot traffic downtown. If the market is going well, you got to think in our community, Saturday mornings is when the market happens. So Saturday mornings from 7 to about noon. Well, most of the merchants open around 9 or 10 o'clock on Saturday. So if you have a happening farmer's market taking place where it's driving foot traffic downtown, and then your store opens at 10 o'clock in the morning and people are already down there, they're enjoying their spring morning or their summer morning, they'll just slide on into the store. And so, the merchants are also really excited about that, and the public restrooms.
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. So when will they get that built, do you think?
It's supposed to be done. I think it has to be done for the grant by August.
Okay.
Well, that'd be right in time for rodeo, maybe. Hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always a fun time downtown when you have the rodeo parade and mutton
busting.
Yeah.
Well, so they'll have to find a different place to do the mutton busting, won't they?
Yeah. Well, there may still be room for that. I don't know. I don't know all the logistics on that. We'll have to see once we get down the road on that.
And John, what is mutton busting? People may not know.
Well, it's where you get on a sheep and you ride a sheep as it was a bull.
Is that you did that in Campbell, didn't you? Don't they do that mutton busting?
We call it something different.
That's why I asked John.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
You opened the door for me there, but I didn't go in.
That's a good. It's fun to watch those kids ride those sheep, man. It's a good time. And then of course they do some of that at the rodeo itself, which is good too. Some of the qualifiers or whatever.
Yeah, they're definitely hanging on for dear life. It's funny.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So we're headed. We just had Thanksgiving. We're headed into the holiday season. We're talking a little bit about the parade and tree lighting and stuff like that. You guys have some holiday traditions that you have and that you will be participating in. Maybe for Thanksgiving you did, or for Christmas you'll participate in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know what I say. Yeah. You know, spending most of my adult life in law enforcement, really, as far as traditions, a lot of times you end up working. So now that I'm in the role that I'm in now, I have a little bit better set schedule. But yeah, my wife's family, they do a fantastic job on Christmas and dinner, and we just got done with Thanksgiving, and I literally just ate Thanksgiving dinner for like 3 days, which was not a problem at all.
So what's your favorite food for Thanksgiving?
Oh man, I really like obviously turkey. I like the ham. I mean all of it, every bit of it. Yeah.
What's yours?
I liked, of course, the turkey for sure. I mean, but the mom makes this stuffing that's homemade stuffing that's really good. No shake and bake for her.
Yeah.
So
funny Christmas story. Whenever I was a kid growing up, of course we talked about what we were going to talk about before this podcast, and these guys are probably thinking, "Oh God, don't tell that story." But this is an appropriate story. So when I was a little kid, I remember one year my mom and dad were awesome at Christmas. Like it was fantastic. You never knew what was going to happen, but one year specifically, my dad didn't buy, but my dad got my mother a money tree. Okay. So what's the thing you always hear is money don't grow on trees, right? Mm-hmm. Well, my dad comes in there and he has I guess he got a branch or a small sapling or something out of the yard. He put it in a Christmas tree, and then he got dollar bills and $5 bills and $10 bills. And I think at the top there might have been $100 bill. But to be a little kid and to walk into there when, Santa had dropped off all these things, and then Santa had brought my mom a money tree, I'm like, man, a money tree. Like,
you're like, that's not fair.
Who
want a money
in the
tree.
world gets a money tree? Like, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite stories growing up, and I'm going to make an assumption here. If my parents watch this, they may correct me, but here's my assumption. We used to do Christmas at my mom's parents' house on Christmas Eve. And so we would go over there like around lunch on Christmas Eve, and we would spend the entire day there. We'd have a meal, and then we'd just hang out with family. We'd have supper. We'd open presents. And then about 9 o'clock or 9:30, we would go home because we had to get in bed because we thought Santa was coming the next morning, right? And I'll never forget one of those Christmas Eve evenings. I think my parents wised up because we got ready to go home, and when we showed up at the house, I walked in, and Santa had already come on Christmas Eve to our house. He stopped early. Well, I'll never forget that, right? It was awesome. You walk in, you're not expecting it at all. You're expecting it on Christmas morning.
Right.
Christmas Eve night, you're not expecting that. Walked in, and there's the presents from Santa. We got to play with them that night. Got to stay up a little late and play with those presents, and then go to bed. And I thought that was really cool. And then it happened. I think I was about 8 or 9, and then it happened every year. Like Santa just decided to stop at our house. Now I'm a parent, and here's what I learned. That means you get to sleep in Christmas morning.
There was no sleeping in when I was little.
I mean,
it's genius.
It's like, because before that it was like, I'm up at 5:30 waking the kids up or waking my parents up like Santa came, and
right.
But nope, not now. We could play with the toys that night and then go to bed and sleep in Christmas morning. So, but that was a memory of mine. That first time that happened, thinking like, oh, we were special because Santa stopped here first.
I was always worried that
It'd be hard to go to sleep. I mean, I think if you got all those.
Yeah, but it didn't matter.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Because
you stay up and play. Yeah. Like I mean, play Nintendo. I mean, I think that's what I got that first year when I walked in. There was the Nintendo, the original Nintendo,
the 64-bit Nintendo.
Before that, the original, what is it, 8 or something?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, something like
whatever it is. Yeah.
So I stayed up. I mean, my dad plugged it in downstairs. And then him and Mom went to bed, and I stayed up playing Super Mario Brothers, and then went to bed, and then I slept in because I stayed up late, which means they got to sleep in on Christmas morning.
I was always worried every year when I was little that if it didn't snow on Christmas, how was Santa going to get to my house, because he needed snow on the ground for his sleigh to slide. And then, of course, my dad explained to me that how magical Santa was, and he didn't need snow, and that he really flew through the air. So I was like, okay, I felt a little bit better about it after that.
That makes it better when you get the truth about Santa. He doesn't need snow.
He does not need snow, obviously.
Or a chimney.
Y'all got the elf on a shelf somewhere?
No, we don't do elf on the shelf. We never have. I don't know why. Well, yes, I do know why. Is because that's just something else to do, right? No, so our family actually, one of the things that we do now that I'm married, I have 5 kids, and so our tradition is every night during the Christmas season. So in the church world, it's Advent, right? And so it's Advent season. This past Sunday was the first Sunday of Advent, and so we have a story that we read before bed every night. That was written in biblical times, but it's kind of a different telling of the Christmas story from these kids' perspectives that were alive during the time of the birth of Jesus. And so it's kind of an adventure story. There's 4 books. The first one's called Jotham's Journey, and this author wrote for kids, for parents to read to their kids during the Advent season, and it just tells the story. And every night there's about a 3-page story, and then there's kind of a little devotional at the end of it that talks about the birth of Jesus or how God loves us. And so we read that, and then on Christmas morning you read the final chapter, and it's the final chapter is the children, end up at the manger where Jesus is born, and it's really incredible. We're on our second go around through the 4 books now. We're on book 3 for the second time this year, and that's kind of become our tradition. Every night at 8:00, we read that story before the kids go to bed.
Yeah, and we also have this Shop with a Hero coming up. That's on the 16th, I think is when it is. And man, we have I think 150 kids.
Yeah, Trish said 150 kids this year.
Yeah. I was talking about the JCs, and I have to say this because they are a big donor this year and donated $15,000 to that. It's huge.
Wow.
I mean, just that's been going on about 7 years, but we really appreciate them. I mean, they've always been supportive of some of the efforts that especially that one. They really get behind that, and I don't know if they get enough credit for what they do in the community and for the community. They're always known for the rodeo, but what's little known after, that they take the proceeds from that and they redistribute it through the community for programs that are good like that, so really appreciate them for that. But
can you imagine what Sykeston would be without the JCs? Just not even mentioning the rodeo aspect, but just what they do, Kenny Rogers Center, and just the donations and the money that they raise from the rodeo and all these organizations within our community, what they do.
Yeah, law enforcement and everything. I don't even know what all they do, but because they do so much, but it's a tremendous organization. They really help with that.
I will say, if you've never experienced the Shop with a Hero, one thing that you can do if you're interested is on that morning, the 16th, the kids will be brought to Walmart and get to shop with a hero, right? And if you want to see what joy is about, just kind of come to Walmart that morning and stand off to the side and watch the joy on the faces, not only of the kids, but also the officers. It is an amazing moment to watch that happen. Now, it's chaotic.
It's a little stressful.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you go, man, that's totally worth it. It was awesome.
I can't imagine being 8 years old or whatever, because they actually do kindergarten through high school now. I think they've done high school the last 2 years. But being 8 years old, I just picked that age at random, and somebody give me a couple $100 and say, go wild at Walmart, I mean, and it's pretty stressful. I mean, like you're saying, because, we have the dollar amount in mind, and they're start putting stuff in the cart and we're trying to keep up with the dollar amount, and then they'll change their mind, they'll take it out and then put other stuff in, and you're just like, what'd you just do? Yeah, some kids are very quick, and others take considerable time, but it's a great time.
But it really is one of those times too where there are times where they're there shopping and they'll be looking for them a toy, but they'll go, I need to get my sister this, and I need to get my mom this, and they're it's just
the school,
it's pretty cool.
I always get this question, like, how do you get on that list? And the school does really good through their counselors of identifying the kids that are most at need. And John's got stories about this. I got stories about it where kids come in and they want to buy onesies for their sisters, or buy frozen pizzas just so they have something to eat. It's can be heart-wrenching for sure.
I think almost every one of the kids that I've got to shop with have all, the first thing before they even think about themselves, they're always thinking about their mom or their brother and sister. Every single one of them. It's truly a humbling experience, and also gives you an appreciation of what really Christmas is about, and giving and others, for sure.
Yeah, and that as we kind of come to the end of the year, we head into holiday season. What is your favorite thing about Christmas, John?
Just families coming together, being with your families and your loved ones. I think we all get really caught up in the hustle and bustle, the gift buying and just being here and being there. But, it seems like every year there'll be a point where I just kind of just take a step back and just kind of really think about what Christmas is about. It's about Jesus and his birth, and it's pretty neat to have that experience. Now, I don't sit and plan for that experience to happen. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to really think about it. It just happens on its own, and I don't. It's a pretty cool moment there.
Yeah, and it's right. It's the end of another year, so you get to kind of take a moment, reflect back all the good things and maybe the difficult times that you had during that year. You get to spend time with your family and friends. You have these Christmas parties and gatherings that you have. We have one at work that we do, and it's always, we don't really ever, because we all work different shifts, right? So we don't really spend a whole lot of time with each other, but the Christmas party that we have, we get a chance to do that, and which is really nice to do. We all get the moment to stop and have a good meal and just kind of socialize, and you do that with your families too, and that's always a good time, and just just spending time with them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Coming to the end of the year, that's what I really enjoy about Christmas. That's the moment for me that you're talking about. Is Christmas always reminds me of hope. There's hope, right? There's peace. There's love, and as we experience that in the Christmas season, ultimately, and in my worldview, what I believe is that comes through Christ and his, not only his birth, but the greatest gift with his death on the cross. But the birth had to come first. He had to come in order to die, and so there's a reminder there of the peace and the hope that we have, which for some years it's a celebration of how great the year was, and there's hope for a great year next year. And then there's years like this year where, at least in my life, it's been one of the toughest years personally, with difficulties in life, with grieving losses of loved ones, of friends. So as we come to the end of the year, there is still this light in the darkness, this hope that, you know what, though it's been a difficult year, there's still hope, and a new year is dawning. And so for me, it's going to be even more special this year, just thinking about that.
Yeah. I think, reflection, I think, is a word that I would use. This year for me will be very similar to what you just explained, and there'll be a lot of reflection on this last year. But the hope for me is moving forward. Moving into the new year, and hope for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to this event that was called Back the Crew. You were there. You spoke there.
I was there. Yeah.
And that was a good time. And it made me think of that because when I was there, they gave us a book, and it was just a small devotional book. Did you pick that up? Did you get that? I picked that up, and it was kind of neat. I've been kind of thumbing through it, and it's got a lot of biblical scripture in it, but this book is written as if Jesus was actually talking through the scriptures that are in the Bible. So it's kind of it's just a short daily devotional kind of book, but it's been pretty neat. You know, it picks some of the more popular scriptures out of the Bible, and it doesn't get in a whole lot of detail. You know, which I'm kind of glad it doesn't, because if I want a lot of detail, I'm just going to read the Bible. You know, but it's really good that way. It's just kind of a reminder of what you're talking about. You know, it's what's made me think about that. Which that was a good event that Mississippi County does. Anna Farrell over there, and the I think it started out as Back the Blue in Mississippi County, and it's, of course, they have firefighters, police, EMS, and everybody showed up there, you know, and they honored Henry Franklin this year in his service. His family was there, and it was just a really nice. It's the first time I ever went to that. I don't know if they've been doing it for a number of years, but I guess because it's Mississippi County, I just hadn't really paid close attention.
Yeah, it was a great event. Food was good.
Yeah,
they were
really
very generous. They presented, you know, some help financially to Leah, and then backstoppers. So I was shocked. Super generous with a donation there. I think normally they have some scholarships or something that they donate to or help raise money for over there, and this year they chose to help support Leah and backstoppers. So that was very appreciative of that.
Yeah, and Sheriff Farrell, which is Anna's husband, spoke there and gave us and gave the family some gifts and you know, just some recognition and you know, resolutions and things like that, and it was really nice. And you know, I thought you gave a really good hopeful speech. I thought that was really good.
Thank you.
I already told you that, but it was good. I thought the whole event was really good. The backstoppers thing, man, that's we're still trying to finalize our bylaws on that. We're just going to get that up and running here, and I think we talked about this before maybe, but had a meeting at Cape trying to get a footprint down in this area so we can raise some money for backstoppers, because they cover Scott County now. Of course, the majority of our cities in Scott County, and they're providing a lot of financial support, emotional support for Franklin's family, and we're going to do everything we can to try to raise money for them. So should be seeing some fundraisers coming up once we get that finalized. But we got to go to the Guns and Hoses event. It's one of their main fundraisers they do every year. It's the night before Thanksgiving, and this is pretty neat. You need to talk about this, how they do that.
Yeah, you know, I've always heard about this event for probably the last. I mean, what's been going on since maybe the early '80s or '70s or '80s or something. I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
40 plus years or something. Like that.
Basically, it's firefighters and police officers, and they get in the ring and they box it out. And I've always wanted to go, and so I got a chance to go this year, and I think I'm interested in maybe boxing next year.
Yeah, they do it at the.
I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when
I told him he don't need to do that.
No, I think it'd be okay.
Yeah.
When
shows
famous last words.
That shows his
I think it'll be okay.
His lack of judgment.
But it's funny because
yeah.
when Chief gave me these tickets, I told my wife, I said, I've got tickets to Guns and Hoses, and explained to her what, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "You're not boxing." And now, you know, like
you're like, why would you say that?
Yeah, they're different. They're different levels of guys that are out there boxing. Some are like, I think I could probably hold my own with pretty good. There's a couple I wouldn't want to tango with. So, but yeah, it was a good event, and a lot of people came out. They honored Henry again that night. Catherine Hanaway came and she spoke. There were several political leaders from the
she was at she's Attorney General and was at the Back the Crew event too. Big supporter of law enforcement, done a great job. But that is at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. So, I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah. I'm wanting to say they said there was like 16,000 people there. I think they announced the attendance or whatever. So.
And like you said, the fights, they started out a little slower, but they got progressively more violent,
there is a one of the actually the female fights were really the best, to be honest with you. And I can't remember her name, but there's a lieutenant out of St. Louis County Police Department. She was a boxer, and I'm going to tell you, you do not want to mess with this lady because she
throws those hands,
and she never stopped. It ended up being a technical knockout. Like they stopped the fight after maybe the second round, but
she did.
She'd be a good one to work with. I mean, you definitely. She's tough.
She got you covered, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I don't know if when in my mind when this was, I thought it was literally the cops fighting the firemen, and at the end it'd be either the cops won or the firemen won as a team or whatever. But they're all kind of mixed in together. So
Gotcha.
there's a red team and there's a blue team. So some of them might be firemen and police, but there's always been a really rival between cops and firemen. So.
What are we doing? I just throw this out here. I know we have pause now with our department, and we've been doing a lot of work with that. Do you want to give kind of an update of what's going on with that?
Yeah, just kind of like our traffic complaints. We get a lot of animal complaints, and so sat down with Jamie, who really runs the day-to-day operations of Paws.
I should say that pause is what does that stand for? Pet and Animal Welfare Service. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, I had that conversation with Jamie, just like I do the patrolman out here. I'm like, okay, we're getting daily complaints of, stray dogs and loose dogs and aggressive dogs and things like that. I said, we're going to have to take a proactive approach here. We're going to have to get out and do some proactivity and try to run down some of these loose dogs and really be a little bit more enforcement minded, issuing citations and things like that, and which he's receptive to that. But the flip side of that is when you go out and be proactive, we're going to be taking in more dogs at the shelter. Mm-hmm. And so we're also going to have to be proactive in, adoptions.
We really need people to adopt some animals. I mean, really is what we need to do.
Yeah, and I've spent some time out there in the last, of course, Chief has too, and we went out there and visited the shelter. And I'm going to tell you, the last time I was out there were so many great dogs that were just – without even the first day of meeting them, you tell them to sit, they sit. I mean, they were a lot of really great dogs out there.
City manager took one of those dogs home, maybe one or two, I think. But
well, I'm at 3 dogs at my house right now. So if I lived on a farm as I grew up, I would probably take that whole shelter home with me because there were some really great dogs.
Yeah, because 3 is about all you can have in the city.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. If not, Jamie will probably write me a ticket as hard as I've been on it about.
Are they doing because they've done this in the past, and I think we talked about this. I can't remember if they said they're doing it or not, but the pictures with Santa
they did that. I believe last weekend.
Last weekend. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So if you're interested in getting a pet, please go by Paws. Check the website. Check their Facebook page. They're always posting pictures and. Really consider adopting a pet instead of going to a breeder.
Yeah, and internally we're working on some better communication and maybe trying to see if we can use our report management system to, just keep data. The data is so important so we can, track what's going on there and explain our needs better to city council and everything else. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of we've discovered there's been some gaps in communication, and then some of the complaints that I get was, hey, I've tried to call out there, nobody answered the phone, or, I've tried to get a hold of somebody and wasn't able to get a hold of them. So we're really trying to fill those gaps in the communications to provide a better service to the public.
And a faster service, trying to get those officers, those, animal control officers there on scene.
Yeah.
Because if it's too long, then the dog that's roaming is gone. You can't find them.
And and if you do have a complaint, if you don't receive, whether it's in patrol division, if it's an officer out on the street, or if it's with Paws or whatever, please call me and let me know. Call the police department, number 471-4711. Ask for me and let me know what your complaint is, and we'll follow up on it because, we of course we're police officers and we want to get out and prevent crime, but we also have an obligation to customer service as well. So we want to be service-minded and provide a good service too. So,
y'all have plans for the New Year's yet? Have y'all planned that out?
No, not really.
I haven't either. It's too far away.
No. You can't shoot fireworks inside the city or a gun, so
Yeah.
don't do either one of those, especially a gun.
Well, I'm going to have to change my plans now. So, no. We usually just stay at the house and have friends over and play cards.
Yeah.
So I assume that's going to be.
You sure don't want to shoot a gun when we have this shot spotter detection system because we will find you.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, with about 45 seconds, somebody be knocking on your door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite part of New Year's is, man, I love hog jowl and I love black eyed peas and
Hog
cabbage.
jowl,
and-
yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to find too, by the way. If you want to go get hog jowl, you better go get it like the week before
Yeah,
New Year's.
for sure.
Like right after Christmas, because you ain't going to find it if you wait till New Year's Eve.
I can eat my weight in hog jowl, I'm telling you right now.
Well, we better wrap this up because we're going.
How'd we do on the list?
We got about half of it.
Yeah.
You know, we got about half the list.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, that gives us something to do next week, you know.
Yeah,
so,
right.
yeah. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us again. You know, this Chief Cap and Chap, episode number who knows. Yeah. Yeah. But again, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you at chief.cap.chap@gmail.com. And thanks for following us. We appreciate that. We're trying to get more regular about these. You know, it's just kind of hard, especially this time of year. But we appreciate you guys following us. And if you got any questions for us, send us that email and let us know what you think. But that's all we got. We'll see you next time.
Always take the high road.
Oh, take the high road. Yeah.
Adopt, don't shop.